Hi everyone, it's Tom. In this video, what we're going to do is look at some additional resources available to you on FOSWeb, specifically how to create pages for your class. So go to the FOSWeb website, log in, and that'll bring you to your teacher page. We scroll down, we can see I have these different menus compressed. I can hit the arrow to expand them. And I see the three modules I'm working with in grade 4. Right now I'm logged into our generic grade 4 account. What we're really interested in right now is this My Class Pages tab. And in this section, what you can do is you can set up your own class page. And this is something that you might use during your instruction, but it's also something, especially if you're working with the older students, maybe grade 4, grade 5, this could provide a way for them to log into FOSWeb for themselves and do some online investigations. So let me take you through the process of how to set this up. You can see I've got one set up already, but we'll just add an additional one, a new class. So I need to come up with a title for my class, and I'll just call it Mr. Patterson's Science class. And then for this would be where, if you were going to have students log on, this would be the login name, Mr. P's Science, and then you create a password. Okay, I'll just use the Westfield 17. You'll also want to determine which modules you want students to see. Now this is something that you can go ahead and change later. You may not want to activate all the modules at once and just keep students on task with the modules that are currently in use. So for now, we're just going to go ahead and we will select the energy module. We hit submit, give it a second, and it should create the class. So you can see there's the class down there. It's got the one module activated. If I wanted to edit any of these things, I could edit the login name and password, but I could also manage the class. So this is where I could go ahead and turn off and on the different modules, at different points throughout the year. But we'll leave it as energy right now. There's also an opportunity here for you to add notes to your class page. These are things that whoever goes to your class page would see at the top. Maybe it's something that you want to communicate to the students, so we could type in a simple note like, please complete investigation 1.2. It'll put the date up. All you have to do is select which class you want it to go to. Let's just have it go to Mr. Patterson's Science class. We hit submit, and then the student would see that at the top of the class page, which we can view the class pages by clicking right here, and this opens up what whoever is logged into your class page will see. This is the same view. So there's the note right there. We'll talk a little bit later about how to go ahead and edit those, delete the ones that you don't want the students to see anymore. What you would want to click on to get to the student online materials is this picture right here. The module summary will open up a page that it's the overview of the module. Probably not something you'd use a lot. And if you click on this, if you're logged in as a student under the class page, it'll take you to the student resources. But we're logged in as a teacher. So what it does is it brings us back to your teacher page and the overview of the entire module. So that might be helpful if you're using this in class, knowing where that'll get you. If you were logged in as a student and you clicked on that, it would bring you to this. And this is where all of the extra resources, a lot of little applications, interactive investigations, and also, probably most importantly, the electronic version of the student book can be found. Some very useful things here. Some of these things will be incorporated into the lessons you give as you go through the investigations. Let's click on this one just as an example. This is a colored light applet. This is an example of how we can go ahead and really push the student reasoning and thinking through these little apps. So it says go ahead and drag a light bulb. I don't know why the blue one makes it go red, but that's what happened. What it's asking the students to do is saying, okay, if you have a monochromatic light source, so single wavelength, which means single color light source, what would happen if you put, essentially these are pigments, I guess, maybe little splashes of paint. What would happen if you put these pigments, which appear to be white, red, green, and blue, when viewed under full spectrum light, which is also white light, so this light is putting out all of the colors of the electromagnetic spectrum. What happens if you put these colors under the monochromatic light? And this is a good opportunity for students to practice their claim evidence reasoning framework. They could go ahead and make a claim first, and then they go through this applet and collect some evidence and then come up with a reason. You know, part of that evidence is going to be changing the lights. So, you know, for example, a student may say, well, I think if I put all of these under the blue light, they'll all be blue. And then it goes ahead and you can drag and you can see what happens. And that's an interesting result. So they could then go ahead and change the color of the light and do the same thing again and see if they get the same result. For example, the blue stayed blue. Will it also be blue under red light? No, it changes and now it's black. So just a simple example of how we can use these small interactive applets that FOSS bundles into their program to go ahead and promote the inquiry in science. Down here under tutorials and virtual investigations, this is possibly a good resource if you have the technology in your classroom and you want to go ahead and have the students possibly break into small groups, do some guided investigations on their own. These tutorials are fairly good. They're typically a short video clip. The students can't fast forward through it. They have to go ahead and watch each component. And at the end, there are typically short assessments that'll have students dragging things, dropping things, choosing from a series of choices in order to check their understanding and see if they learned from whatever came before it. So that might be a good resource. Down here under the media library are the electronic versions of the books. And they come in English and Spanish, which is helpful for our English language learners that might need some additional support. But they come in a couple different flavors. You have the full interactive HTML format for the book, and you have a PDF-based ebook. Now, the PDF-based ebook is very simple. It's run through Flipping Book, so you go through and you can just basically look at it page by page. There are hyperlinks inside of it, so it'll move through. But this is really good if you just wanted to provide the students with something to, an online version of their book to read. Probably what would be better as you're teaching the material and maybe projecting something up on the interactive whiteboard or screen in front of your class would be to use this fully interactive book. And the reason for that is it has some additional features. And the two biggest features are there are embedded video clips, and it also has read out loud. So if you click on any of these icons, it'll bring up the multimedia material.
The filament burns out too quickly, Mr. Edison said.
And things like the read along could be very valuable for students in the earlier grades who are developing readers. The video clips, a lot of them don't have any associated audio. It's really up to you to determine how you want to annotate these clips. This is a video of Mr. Edison looking at something. Not sure what he's looking at, but it allows us to be a little creative in the description there and have some fun with it. So this book is, identical to the hard copies that are included in in the resources that we have, but could be very useful to you for projecting at the front of the class with your other materials. Back to your class page, there's an entire list of vocabulary that will be reinforced throughout the module. It also goes ahead and gives you definitions, because sometimes you may not be entirely sure how FOSS is using a particular term. We know that especially in different scientific terms, they have different meanings depending on the application. So it's nice to have a definition list so you can know exactly in what context they may be using something. There's also 2 pages of recommended websites and books. Actually, these links take you to the same page. It's a lot of things. Some of them you might find to be very useful, like difference between alternating and direct current from PBS. I would not be surprised if some of these links die, and there are a lot of them. So I'm not necessarily sure that this will be the most useful thing to you. And for example, for the books, it's just a laundry list of books, but there's suggested resources for you to go ahead and browse as you see fit. Now that you've seen what's available on your My Class page. Also at the bottom there, the module summaries there. This says 4 families. There's also, this page is some suggestions of some of the activities that you could go ahead and have the parents engage with their students at home. Some of the simple things from investigations that don't require a lot of resources or a lot of materials, so that possibly if you have a student who's missed a significant number of classes or something, these are some suggestions that you could give for the student to do at home with their parents. But anyway, let's go back to the teacher page and go down to your class. And it is something I want to mention here is sometimes there's small problems where this may not appear. I've had times where I've gone back and My Class pages has disappeared, and I've even gotten a small error message there saying something can't happen. And the way that I fix that every time is I just refresh the page. I'm not sure why it happens, but refreshing the page seems to do the trick. So before I mentioned how we could go ahead and modify the notes that you put in. If you go to Manage Class Page, you'll see that the class notes appear up here. You can go ahead and you can either delete it or save it. Probably it's something that you'd want to delete as you go through. Takes the note away, and then going back to the class page, it's gone, ready, waiting for the next one. And also, like I said, at that Manage Your Class page, you can go ahead and you can change the module that is available. And hey, look, this is wonderful. This is exactly what I was talking about. Teacher Classes is temporarily unavailable. I hit refresh, it comes back. You can see the change in the module has happened. Not sure why that happens, but it's a simple fix. So please don't panic. Technology it's 2017. But technology is still fickle sometimes. So I hope you enjoyed that overview of what the My Classes page looks like in your FOSS web. I think it's something you'll really find useful in working with your students.